It's going. Welcome back. Welcome back to Banishment. Y'all were just here a day or two ago. What is time? Yeah, I feel like last Banishment was kind of a bigger one too. Colleen, you played an idol successfully. How did you know your name was going to be written down? I'm just getting right into it.
Yeah, I don't know. Trying to think back. How did I know it was obvious? It was. There wasn't a lot of chatter. Like it was like a little bit, and then it kind of went quiet. And Chris was like, "I'm trying to get my team to like you, but they're not sure." I really felt bad about how it, like, cause yeah. But I wasn't convinced it was me, but I was convinced that if I didn't play it and I did get voted out, I'd be gone. So I'd nothing to lose.
Joanna, were you surprised to see Colleen play the idol?
No.
No, okay. And now, Keith, I recall last Banishment, there was some discussion about confusion. Does someone have an idol? Who has the idol? Were you all referring to Colleen, or were you referring to someone else?
I think it was just in reference to like one of us three, because it's like obviously we don't have the numbers. So if we do have something, like multiple clues have been out this far, and if we do have something, we're more likely to play it because the numbers are obviously set up against us. This is the time to do it. So like it's gonna be a genuine concern when someone that is on the outside, if someone's on the outside, there's always gonna be a genuine concern that, oh, are they gonna play something? Is there gonna be an advantage and such?
Sure. So, Micah, I have to ask last Banishment, I asked you about we've swapped, there's Royals numbers. You made it sound like you couldn't be sure if you could still trust your former Royals members. Was that just for show, just kind of a performance to make the three other people feel that you were on the outs with Royals, or did you genuinely feel that way?
I genuinely felt that way because, they could be thinking way ahead of me and making other friendships outside of the Royals that could, bring me down. Like, that would be a really smart thing to do. So I stand by that.
So Joey, you were on Exile, but I'm sure that you did. I'm going to turn this person's video off. That you did watch. What were you feeling, thinking, watching Last Banishment?
Oh, I think the whole thing was just a full I was just kind of watching the whole thing in shock. I didn't really know what was going to happen at all. And I mean, it was definitely kudos to Colleen. It was a really great move. It was a successful idol play. I think it's what everyone who does this would want to do, play it when they and know that they didn't just make it up. So I don't know. It was a lot of different pieces.
Nicholas, were you surprised to see Colleen play an idol? Was that shocking to you?
It was obviously it was initially shocking because it's how everything developed. I don't think you could plan for that. But we know that there are tons of advantages floating around. There's been multiple clues dropped. We have the first one that we know all the teams got. And then we had one recently that was like a dance challenge. But that one is number 3. We had number 1 and we have number 3. What was number 2? Who has number 2? Where is it? I don't know. I don't know if anybody on this team knows. Somebody knows, though.
I hope whoever labeled those clues labeled them correctly, because I have been known to mislabel numbers. No. So, Nicholas, after, it felt like a very shocking banishment, the Royals, the former Royals, people looked very shocked. How does your team then go back from there? What happens?
Well, I was definitely in a place of a little bit of shock. I felt like I had the rug pulled from under me, not because Colleen or Joanna, Keith, Mike, or Chris said anything specific. It was just I didn't know that was going to happen, and so I did a team Zoom, and I was definitely a little shaken. And I think I kind of went into it being I wanted to ask some hard questions right away to kind of let people know I'm not going to be the only one shaken, I guess. And so, but I think ultimately a lot of good came from that because I was able to have more frank conversations with people that I wasn't having before. And also Joanna was really kind enough to extend the Zoom, and we ended on a positive note. So that was ultimately, I think, really good for all of us that happened.
Sure. So do you have any concerns about how you might have come off in that team Zoom? I mean, you're saying you asked hard questions.
Right.
I know it can be challenging for contestants not to then see that as you are trying to course correct, deal with the loss of control, anything like that. So
Right.
are you worried about how you came off to the people who did not vote with you?
Yeah. I'm worried about with the people that did vote with me, because, you know, it was a move that I think could be questionable to people. And, you know, ultimately I feel good about it. I had conversations with pretty much everybody about it. And I feel like it's not going to be damaging, ultimately, but I'm happy with it ultimately.
Colleen, how did you feel about the team Zoom call?
I really appreciated it. I mean, like, I'm the kind of person, I would love to, like, I like taking problems and like running into them as fast as I can. And we needed to like get to the other side of that as fast as we could. And I think we did. So.
Sure. So you are touching upon a very interesting component of this game, which is you do need to work together and trust each other to get through these challenges so that you don't have to go to more banishments. But then ultimately, if you lose the challenge, it turns back inward on itself. Joanna, did you find, I mean, it sounds from Nicholas like everything was kind of copacetic after. Did you feel that way after the kind of last banishment and then everyone getting on the same page?
Yes, I did.
And did you feel good going into yesterday's challenge?
I did.
Now I feel like you're just giving me non-answers because you don't want me to push you on anything.
No, push me. I love it.
Just have to ask. So Keith, I have to ask, it's, you know, Joey comes back in. He's from the original Royals. The numbers are still 3 versus 3 non-original Royals. And, you know, a merge is around the corner any day. The Royals will have the numbers once again. Is that something you're thinking
No.
to talk with?
It's 4-4-4. I just want to clarify that right now. We have 4 original Royals, 4 original Buns, 4 original Flamingos. So I don't want the narrative to be that Royals are going to take this.
So are you saying to me that you're not working with your former Royals on this team and people don't need to be worried about that?
Have I had conversations with them? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is there are 3 of you on this team, as there are in Flamingos, there are 3, but, you know, the numbers are clear. I don't think the Buns are as much of a, if they're split up 2 and 2, there's more time and opportunity for things to shift, for people to have to shift.
Right.
Keep hearing what Nicholas is saying. Do you feel that Royals are not remaining Royals strong, or is he just making sure that it's, you know, there's options?
Like, I'd be lying if I said like I wasn't scared, because it's just like, it's just natural. Like, if you have the numbers, the likelihood of you staying together is like significantly high. And so then that leaves myself, that leaves Colleen, that leaves Joanna, like, and so with that observation, of course, we're going to be like, okay, I can expect my name like to come up, just because like that's what's natural. Like, why would you go against that, right? And so that's all I have to like base my observation on. And so of course, like, I'm going to be more inclined that, okay, it's not going to be one of them, likelihood of being me, third chance. That's all I have. That's the results that I can base off of that observation.
Do you feel like you're able to, you know, we're now like almost 2 weeks into this game. Do you feel like you're having an easier time to figure out when you feel your name is being thrown out there, when you might be in that sort of danger?
I feel like it's hard, first of all, to talk to people over Slack and to like read messages and such. But like for me, silence can kind of be like deafening. Like I feel like if you're talking with everyone, then okay, like you can have some sense of like, okay, what's going on. But like if like some conversations are just dying off, like you're not talking to someone for a while, you can feel like it's you. And so like that's why I feel like, okay, I don't know where I stand. So my fear is genuine and justified, in my opinion.
So, Joey, you're at your very first banishment ever. I just want to do a little midway check-in. Is it everything you hoped and dreamed it would be?
Yeah, and more.
So you came back in and, I'm sure you thought you were walking back into a numbers that would behoove you, that would help you. And instead it is a 3 versus 3. If I'm going just based off original teams, which not saying that's how everything's going to go, but if I just go off that, which means there's risk for a tie. Is that something that you are thinking about? I mean, I think I said it last time, like no one ever really wants to go to Rocks, and there is a chance that that could happen with an even number on this team.
Yeah, I honestly think that I think all 6 of us have thought through every possible outcome that can happen tonight, and I'm sure that Rocks is included.
Okay, so Micah, we're also far enough in where you start to notice when you're working with people who's making the decisions, who's making the calls, and sometimes that's great. You want someone to be making those decisions. You don't want to be the person throwing the name out, but also we're getting closer to where there will be a merge. You're going to have a jury. You have to convince people, no, I was still taking control. I still had control of my game. I was playing things. Do you find yourself trying to balance both of those things now that we are this far into the game? Or are you letting people make decisions or making your own decisions completely?
I think ultimately I'm making decisions that are best for me, and I hope that the people that I'm trusting are making those decisions that are best for me too, so that it is a true alliance. But I definitely am more of like a follow the leader kind of game. So we'll see how that works out for me.
But you also just said you're making decisions that are best for you, and you didn't mention your
right.
own.
Well, yeah, yes, ultimately, but I think that I try to stand back and see where everything's kind of going before I make my own decision, if that makes sense.
Sure. So Joanna, we are also far enough where, I keep saying merge, but a thing that will happen with the merges is we start to get to these individual challenges, right? And in some ways that's easier because it's easier to get everyone to see who are the challenge threats, who is a shield, who is an easy vote off and easy convincing. Are you thinking about that shield factor at all? Of like, oh, this will be an easy person for everyone to be convinced by, or is it just like, we're not even at the merge yet, I got to do what's best for the game right now?
That is an interesting question. Today I kind of battled thinking that maybe I had been someone's shield for a while, and just with trust issues. And, obviously through this game, that's like the whole game is like one big trust issue. And so that's, I don't know if that answered the question, but I think it might be a little too soon I think it's all about, the whole game's about survival, but I think right now it's about survival until we get to the merge.
I'm so curious, what made you feel or think that you might be someone's shield?
How do I word this without giving other people away or messing up their game if I'm potentially voted off? Because I'm not about that. Because sometimes I'm okay, so I feel like there's certain decisions that can be made that would be best not just for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think about other people as well, and so with that, and I'm bringing that information forward, and I'm trying to get feedback as well, and I'm trying to listen. I found that today, certain people were more interested in themselves as opposed to what I was hoping for, which is what would be best for, more than just one person.
Sure. That makes sense. No, and a follow up on that is, I think a challenge when you find out that information is it can hurt emotionally, right? And yet in some ways it's good to find that out because now you know where people's cards lie and you can make informed decisions. But how did you kind of wade your way through that? Because I think a really hard layer of this game is the emotional part, right? How people make you feel, how you make others feel, but also knowing you have to make decisions, you know, use logic, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Good question. I think that at the end of the day, I had to do what was best for a majority. And if that gets me voted out today, then I still think that I made the best choice.
Okay. Colleen, to me, it sounds a little bit, and Joanna, correct me if I'm wrong, but that does sound a little bit like it feels like you're alluding to something. There may be a plan you're aware of. It sounds like maybe you or an alliance of yours might be going home tonight. Colleen, is that something you're worried about feeling, or worried about / comma are feeling?
I have no idea who's going home tonight. Like, I know who I'm voting for. I don't have any idols to play. It's been a very difficult thing to navigate merging 2 teams or 3 teams. You know, like how do you figure out where is your place with now new dynamics?
Sure. And do you feel that just based on like personalities?
Well, and math.
Yes, the math part. I just if the personalities had anything to play into it.
Everybody's great. You know, like, I mean, like, I feel like I could play with everybody. So it's really hard when you can't. Like, the fact of the matter is, all of us can't win.
Yes, very true.
Can I say something on that note? I know that this is not a normal thing to kind of piggyback, but she's absolutely right. Everyone can't win, right? This is a one winner game. But I also think it's important. Yes, math is important, right? We have to base it on numbers. You're bringing numbers up in this a lot, that there are more Royals than there are of anyone else on this team. But I also think loyalty is important, especially in this point of the game, you know? So that's why I understand why the Royals want to stick together, even if whether they are, they're not, whatever. I get that, you know? And I actually appreciate their honesty as well. About it. So, but when it comes to numbers and loyalty at this stage of the game, before the merge, that has to come into play. It has to come into play that it's more than just a game where there's one winner, you know, because we're not there yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's also very interesting. Nicholas, did you have something you wanted to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna piggyback off that also.
Do it.
Yeah, let's piggyback, guys. So I mean, I watched the show, and in this phase of the game, it's often like a lot of people do get put in really hard positions, and it sucks. Like, people may have to turn on each other. People may have to do things they didn't think they were going to have to do. But this is also a time to kind of reconnect with people you maybe never connected with, and establish new lines of trust moving forward into the merge. And we're already now at this point probably going to go into the merge with a minority maybe. And it's important that whoever does remain, that we can work together, that we can have lines of dialogue together. And I know that this round was particularly difficult for all of us. I don't think anyone had an easy time with this one. And yeah.
It really does feel different vibe, different tonally than it was last Banishment. I have to wonder, I have to put it out there, it felt a little bit like the former Royals came into last Banishment. I don't want to say cocky, because none of you came off as cocky, but like confident, you'd never been to a Banishment. You did have the numbers and kind of maybe thought it was going to go exactly as you planned, and it didn't. So I'm kind of feeling a little bit of, dare I say, Royals humble pie on this at this Banishment. But I think an interesting part about that, which you really do well in this game, is adaptability, right? And like flexibility, and like things are never going to go according to your plan. And like this game, truly nothing is entirely in your control. There's so much that you can't control. Nicholas, do you feel like that's something that you kind of learned from last Banishment into this one?
Yeah, I mean, there are literally millions of avenues this game could take at this point, because there's 13 people playing. And every little move, every conversation, every advantage that is played, every challenge changes and eliminates some of these avenues. And, you know, it's on all of us to, one, adapt, and two, to navigate these different avenues. And because you, at a certain point, you have to pick a road to go down. And, you know, you have to also be amenable to change. So, you know, Chris going wasn't in my mental plans, but it happened, and you move forward and you learn how to play a new game.
Sure. So Joey, you know, one of, I think, the challenges of coming off of exile is you didn't really get to be a part of the last banishment, even though this is your team, a team you are a part of. So you didn't really get to be a part of that decision-making process. And I'm sure there's also like an element of mourning, right? Like Chris left, you didn't really get to say goodbye or anything like that. How did you feel, like, how did you kind of navigate coming onto this team that had already had some time together, had had like a tenuous banishment, and now you've got to rejoin?
Yeah, I think it was a unique circumstance, right? Because they'd all gone through an experience together. They'd also had time to kind of get to know each other and kind of bond in a way that I hadn't gotten to yet. But I think we kind of talked about the Zoom call earlier. So I think it was kind of interesting because I was able to kind of see everyone, I think it was at least able to kind of put that aside. And we kind of almost started anew kind of with the group, and they kind of were nice and welcomed me kind of as part of this new group moving forward. So, and I kind of use that to just kind of introduce myself to people I haven't gotten to talk to yet, and kind of move forward that way.
Okay, so with that, it is going to be time to vote. When I say your name, please Slack me directly with who you'd like to vote for. And we are going to begin with Joey. Joey, please Slack me who you'd like to vote for. Micah, please Slack me who you'd like to vote for. Colleen, please Slack me who you'd like to vote for. Keith, please Slack me who you'd like to vote for. Nicholas, please Slack me who you'd like to vote for. Joanna, please Slack me who you'd like to vote for. Okay, now before I read the votes, can you all put out your phones with your light? Now, before I read the votes, does anyone have an idol that they would like to play? Okay, once I read the votes, the decision is final. That player will be banished from the island. Okay, first vote is Colleen. That's one vote for Colleen. Second vote is Keith. That's one vote for Keith, one for Colleen. Third vote is Colleen. That's two for Colleen, one for Keith. Next vote is Colleen. That's three for Colleen, one for Keith. The next person banished off Quarantine Island is Colleen. I'm sorry, Colleen, your quarantine time is up. Do you have anything you'd like to say before you leave?
It's been so fun. I've enjoyed playing the game.
I'm opening up the chat so that people can, yep, here it comes. Colleen, thank you so much for playing. I don't think many players know, but I actually know Colleen. She was a patron at a cafe I worked at in college. We did not know each other very well. We follow each other on Instagram. She saw I was doing this thing, decided to apply. We've now grown quite close despite not having, we didn't know each other very well. And Colleen, I know all the players would back this up, but you are such a strong person. It has been such a joy having you be a part of this game. We are so thankful that you did this. We're also proud of you for the technology.
I thought of something to say. I just have a leg. Can I say it now? I just want to say it to like tired moms out there that we need to play. This is that you can do it, like find a way to have fun. I think it's so easy to think that self-care has to be like a bath and a bottle of wine. And I think everyone needs to play more.
And I also just want to say you had a very iconic move last Banishment that no one will ever forget. Everyone's dream in this game is to play an idol successfully. I am tearing up. I'm going to tear up for all of you because I truly I cannot state this enough. We cast incredible people this season, like really just amazing people. And so every time it's hard to see one of you go, and every time it's so difficult, but I hope you guys feel a part of the community. You know you're a part of this community. And hey Keith, does Jeff Probst cry this much? I would love to know if I'm close, past, could do more crying.
He does it. I wish he did.
Truly, Colleen, thank you so much for being on this journey. We have so appreciated having you here. QI Reply is on tonight. It's going to be with Maddie Myers and Emily Karpberg. Otherwise, tune in tomorrow at 5:30. There will be a challenge. Truly love you all and have a wonderful night. Bye.
I love you, Colleen.